Okay, so Sonny Alawalia is a former basketball operations assistant with the Memphis Grizzlies from 2019 to 2022. He's helped out with Canada basketball, and he's a man of endless stories and words of advice. Sonny, how's it going?
Pretty good, man. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So just starting out, do you just want to tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey into basketball, and just kind of what you've been up to lately?
For sure. Yeah. So basketball was always something I did as a side hustle, never really considered it as a career. Graduated school with a degree in economics, kind of worked at a bank, worked at a stock brokerage, and kind of in line with the analytics revolution happening in basketball and in line with technology getting a little easier to use and video becoming more available, kind of dipped my toes into some side projects. Worked for Synergy Sports, worked for Canada Basketball, did some stuff for the Raptors 905, did some project work here and there, and that kind of very serendipitously led to a role with the Grizzlies in 2019.
Gotcha. Has basketball always been your kind of sport of preference, or were you ever considering, did you ever like dabble in any other sports?
Yeah, I kind of a funny story. I wanted to play hockey when I was in the fifth or sixth grade, as most Canadian kids do. And that was probably the first real conversation I had with my parents. You know, we had one car. My dad was the only one working, so they're like, "Look, man, this sport is just like way too expensive. We can't get up at 5 a.m. to go to practices. So like, find something else that's a little a little cheaper." So I took my paper out money and I bought a basketball, and I could do that for basically free. So worked out all right.
There you go. Um, so most of this interview is going to be kind of centered around, it's going to be geared towards people like myself, college students in sports who are trying to kind of break their way into basketball. Um, so just kind of me specifically, I'm wrapping up my final semester at UWL. I'm 22 years old. I'm going to be graduating, hopefully, with a sport management degree this May, so just a few months away. It seems like there's a lot of pressure put on myself and a lot of my other kind of peers in college over the next few months and years, probably. It seems like we're making a lot of decisions almost every day, if not every other day, um, that could potentially put us on our career path and kind of get our lives started and rolling. So, tell me a little bit about your time at SFU, kind of your involvement with athletics on campus, and what was your mindset when you were kind of in my shoes?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I was saying, I never considered basketball as a career, and honestly, I barely considered it to be like a worthwhile pastime. Like I spent a lot of my time playing. When I was on campus, our women's program was like a very, very good program. I think they had won five or six national championships in a row. Our men's team was always strong, but I never considered getting involved with either of the programs, and that's something I've had to explain in almost every one of my basketball conversations because most people are like yourself; they know from a young age that this is kind of what they want to do with their life. But for myself, yeah, it was mostly just basketball in my spare time. I lived on campus, so you know, so that loop there and guys that played on the team, and then yeah, studies the rest of the time. So definitely different mindset self and for most of you guys who are trying to make it from a young age.
So unfortunately, I only got about 50% of that. Um, you kind of lagged
Okay.
out a little bit. Uh,
I can
do you
try it
want me to?
again.
I
Go to
can move on
prompted
to the,
again.
just so
I
you
got that.
don't feel like you're repeating yourself. I can do the next question and come back to that one if that sounds good.
Okay, let's do it.
Um,
Cool.
just kind of refresh your mind or whatever. So, over the last decade, over the last 10 years, I've seen you work through different, sorry, over the last decade, you've worked for several different organizations and businesses and companies. I'm sure you've met hundreds of people along the way and probably a few mentors here and there. Who would you say has been the most influential on you throughout your career?
There's a guy that I met in Portland, probably 2013. He was a coworker of John's. He was an intern at that time. His name is Matt McKay. Him and I just kind of became good friends. Really like, I wasn't thinking about basketball again, still as a career at that time. It was kind of a pipe dream. I grew up as a huge Blazers fan, and Matt was just someone I really hit it off with, and kind of as his career ascended, he kind of gave me some advice, and he's like, look, if you're looking to do this stuff full time, like here's some advice on where to go next. When I left the Canadian national team, he actually brought me down to Charlotte. He was a scout with the Hornets at that time, and brought me in for training camp, and then took me on a like a scouting road trip. So I made the connection there that led to my Grizzlies job, which was with Rich Cho, who was the GM of the Hornets at that time. And he's the one that brought me to Memphis. So, Matt has not only been, turned into one of my best friends, but also someone who gave me like really invaluable advice, kind of as he was climbing the ladder himself.
Yeah, I'm actually not quite scheduled yet, but I'm supposed to meet with Matt to do one of these interviews. I think we're still working on it. I'm talking
Now
like I'm talking to like 10 people right now, so it's hard to remember who I got
he's
when. But
he's the best, man. You'll really like him. I think he's like one of those guys that just gets along with everyone. But like, yeah, him and his my wife hangs out with his wife, and like we're like good friends. And it's like I feel very lucky to have met someone like that.
that's awesome. I'm looking forward to talking to him. Um, let's see. Okay, so as a college student, before this, I got this internship with Getting a Game. I needed something to, what am I trying to say? I needed an internship to fulfill my sport management program in order for me to graduate. This entire spring, I've been looking for something to do. Um, I shouldn't say, I need to reword this whole thing. It's hard to explain. Leading up to my spring semester, my final semester at UWL, I needed an undergraduate internship to help me complete my program. I was sending out applications to NBA teams and G League teams and anything related basketball. Just kind of shooting for the stars and see what would stick. And then if I needed to come back down and look at more college routes or youth programs or whatever, that was my plan. Thankfully, I ran into John. I got this Get in the Game internship, but leading up to that, I received a ton of rejection just from teams, and it's understandable. I consider myself pretty good at handling rejection, um, but this was 40, 50 applications that were going out that were just all no, we're good. So
Yeah.
it's not easy, but how would you say you handle rejection?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting part of adult life that nobody really prepares you for. And the way that I like to think about it is I kind of like to flip it. It's like you really only need one job, and it takes X number of applications to get that job. And the X doesn't matter because you just got to send them out until you get the one job you get. And typically the job you get is the job you're meant to get. I like to think about it that way. um it doesn't help in the moment when you get that email and you're like, for I'm bad at like, I apply for a job and it's like, oh, you start putting yourself there like, oh, I could live in Indiana and I could do this, and then you get the rejection and it's just like, yeah, that little shot in the arm. But um really a big part of adult life is just pushing through adversity, and that's a good way to really take a little bit of a little bit of the poison at a time and get really a lot better at it. It doesn't get significantly easier, or it hasn't for me. But you get better at pushing through it.
Yeah. Um, it's okay if you don't have a good answer for this, but do you have another something that would motivate you kind of in the moment or something, I mean, just to get you back on your feet that just gets you ready to keep going?
Yeah, I think it's so much about, and again, this is like not just applications, but a lot of things in life. It's so much about your process and like doing the work and reevaluating your process. If you're getting a ton of rejections and you're not getting any feedback, maybe you're close. But if you're not thinking about your process or you're not asking those questions, um, it's probably a good time to do that. There's jobs that I didn't get that, I talked to the hiring manager and they were just like, look, man, like we've got a guy in here, he was a graduate manager at Duke, his dad owns the Miami Heat. Like you were never gonna get this job. So that's not uncommon in sports. But it's good to know that. It's nice to hear that. But there's things you can do to really like refine your process. And some of those people that you ask for advice in that way, end up being really great mentors for you. I have, a handful of mentors who I met that way, just from asking them for some feedback on my application and kind of what I can do next time.
Yeah. No, I've tried to take advantage of people in that same way, and just even if I receive a rejection, it's not a complete, off the face of the earth, never reach out again. I try to if it's a good, it depends on who it is and the organization or whatever, but if it's someone I can really talk to, I love to reach back out to them and just, ask for advice, or what can I improve on, or what are you looking for specifically?
Absolutely.
That would kind of push me over the edge. So the flip side of that, rather than receiving rejection, is it's something I've struggled with, especially as of late. This internship is something that's brand new to me. Um, I'm done with class, like collegiate classes. Technically, this is part of it's a 12 credit thing, whatever.
Mm.
Um, and then I have another full-time job and another job that I applied for to all be doing at the same time. It got to the point where I was telling a lot of people yes at the same time, and realistically, there's just not that much time in the world.
Mhm.
I had I had obligations towards this, and like commitments towards getting the game and what John needed. I have commitments towards my full-time job that I had, and I wanted to take on a secondary job just to, I don't know. I thought I could do it. I ended up telling him I could, and I had to put in my 2 weeks. I think only after 6 or 7 days working there.
Mhm.
Um, it's not, I mean, that situation isn't a huge deal, but the whole lesson of this thing is that I ended up saying yes to a lot of people. I didn't want to let them down. I wanted to take on the challenge. I see myself as a person who likes to take on challenges, and not, push things aside when I know I can be doing more.
Mhm.
Um, Obviously, kind of what I experienced is saying yes, yeah, a little too much. Um, so my question for you is, how do you tell someone no, or kind of turn down an opportunity, or just tell them you're not able to complete it while maintaining a good relationship with that person or that company?
Yeah, I think there's two parts to that. I think you did the part that's the harder part, which is being honest with your time commitments and being able to walk away from something. I think a lot of people get stuck and they burn themselves out, or they, let other areas of their life suffer because they couldn't do all the things they signed up to do. But this is something that you'll have to figure out. Your capacity changes over your adult life and over your working life, and what's important to you really changes. Um, but I'm kind of the same way. I say yes to a lot of stuff, but I've started saying yes and like yes, and this is kind of like what else I have going on. I've found proactive communication to be the best kind of communication. Like if I'm helping someone with something and I'm, like for example, now I'm away on vacation. Just give a heads up, like, hey, I don't know if you need anything from me this week, but I'm going to be on vacation, so delays or responses might be a little delayed. Just kind of over communicating in that way where it's like, hey, I'm thinking about the commitments I have coming. Um, and I'm actually trying to do something about it. The thing you don't want to do is communicate that the night of a deadline, or the night before a deadline, which I think when I was in college, I was certainly guilty of that. So I had to shake some of those habits. But yeah, communication and honesty, like everyone gets it. Especially anyone who's doing sports stuff, probably had to do sports as a side hustle or something else to pay the bills. So everyone gets it, and you know, if someone doesn't get it, then it's probably not someone that you want to be working with anyway.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. I don't think um, just in our previous meetings with getting the game, I don't know if you've shared as many stories, but I've definitely spoken to a few other people who've worked in professional sports or just sports in general. They've kind of expressed that, yeah, I mean, it ends up being a ton of late nights, early mornings, and you kind of are pushed away from things like family and just other normal life things. Do you kind of see that? Is that just because you've worked in different just different forms of career outside of sports? Do you see that more as just kind of a thing within sport careers, or is it more widespread than that?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. Some people, are people who work 24/7 no matter what industry they're in. So in every place I've worked, there's been someone who sends emails at 1 a.m. or there's someone who's online and will Slack you on Saturday afternoon. But in sports, especially in season, just because of the nature of the business, it is 24/7. We were on Central Time in Memphis, so if the team was on the West Coast, game ends at midnight Central Time, 1 a.m. Central Time. Not abnormal to have a call after the game, or like if someone needs something and they're jumping on a plane, and we're back home. And then never mind if you're traveling with the team, then you're fully on the team schedule. Um, but yeah, there's workaholics in every industry, but you know, in even in the industry I'm in now, which is working at a software company, we're a small company. Everyone hustles pretty hard, but when the weekend comes, it's normal to close your laptop at, 5 p.m. on a Friday and not pick it up again until either Sunday night or Monday morning, where I think in sports that's a bit unheard of, that you would just just disappear, especially in season for a couple days. So important to know that going in, especially if you're on the team side.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna jump back to the SFU question. Um, I'm not sure how I worded it the first time, but I'll try to do something similar. Uh, okay, so I'm wrapping up my final semester at UWL. Um, I'm supposed to be graduating this May, so just a few months away. It seems like there's a ton of pressure being put onto me and kind of my other college students and friends over the next few months and years because of all the tough decisions we're going to have to be making that can potentially set us up for our career, our future career. So tell me a little bit about your time at SFU, your involvement with athletics on campus, and then kind of your mindset when you were my age.
Yeah, I think I'll speak to the mindset part first because that's the hardest part. This is the first time in your life where you'll be on a different timeline than a lot of your friends. So like, when you go through high school, everyone's kind of on the same timeline. You go through university, if you don't take any gap years, everyone's kind of on the same timeline. And this is where you'll start to see it splinter. And it's totally normal to feel like you're behind or ahead, but that goes away really quickly. A lot of people like myself change careers, and change careers multiple times, and go through ups and downs, especially like in some of the economies like I've seen in my career. Like those prompted some changes and even prompted career changes in my case. So it's hard to know at your age, like it's hard to know that the job you get coming out of school won't be the last job you get, and it's hard to see into the future and know what you'll be doing, never mind in 15 years, but what you'll even be doing in 5 years. um my for myself on campus, I was right in your shoes. I was like, my degree's in economics, and I was like, I want to go do this and I want to do this, and then I'll be a director or a VP by this age, and I'll be doing this. you know okay. It definitely didn't go that way, but I certainly totally get the mindset. As far as my involvement with athletics on campus, outside of playing basketball with my friends who lived up there and with some guys on the team, like I went to some games, both men's and women's, but certainly wasn't involved because I wasn't even considering basketball as a career at all, and even hadn't even entered my mind to to do anything in basketball as a career.
Um, okay, that one went a little bit better. Uh, are you able to adjust your camera a little bit to get the sun out of there?
All right, yeah. Let me see if I can. So I make me look like I'm in the dark. Is that better?
That works. That'll probably work.
No, no, it's better.
It's up to you how you want to be seen. If I upload this,
There we go. We'll do
that's
that.
better.
See if I
Yeah,
can get some light in from the other side so I don't look like a complete psychopath.
you had like the sun glare creeping in behind you, and it looked like just a silhouette of you. Looked pretty interesting.
There we go. It's probably a lot better.
Yeah, that works. Okay, just a few more here. So we spoke a little bit earlier about um, people who get into sports are kind of they just get dealt some really great cards. With the relationships that they're just kind of given, whether it be through their family or family friends that they're just almost even born into. And then there's other people that just have to kind of get it kind of out of the mud and work their way up. Regardless of that, I think something that almost everyone can do is, you know, take take the extra step, go the extra mile, and try to make themselves stand out. So for young people trying to get into sports, what do you think is some of the best ways that they can stand out?
I think now more than ever, and this is advice I give every time, you can start doing the job you want to be doing with publicly available tools. So if you're a person who wants to be scouting, you can start putting together scouting reports, video scouts, things like that. You can know almost as much as an NBA front office knows just by sitting in front of your computer or doing some research. And if you're on a campus, by talking to people who are on or close to the teams that you're close to. Um, Same thing with, if you want to be a CBA guy, if you want to do coaching, if you want to be analytics, you can start doing a lot of that stuff. And a lot of people get jobs from just like from from Twitter accounts. Not abnormal. So really more than ever, start doing the work you want to be doing, start putting together a portfolio. Don't be afraid to send out work samples, ask for feedback, um, and kind of maintain and grow your relationships through people who seem to be going out of their way to help you, because those are usually the good people in the game that are trying to do something for the next generation coming up.
Great answer. Um, yeah, I agree. I think there is a lot. It surprises me how kind of accessible so much of this stuff is for free that you can just go
Yeah.
ahead and just kind of build. I mean, especially like social media accounts. It's the people who are at the top are probably, I mean, they have mostly the same tools. I shouldn't say at the top, but because they most likely have staffs if they're a bigger account. But just to prove your knowledge is like it's accessible. It's pretty much free to just go out there and show what you have and show them why you stand out. I totally agree with you.
It's kind of funny. There's no like prescribed way to do this. So everyone has like kind of made it up and like there's accepted ways to do things, but for the most part, it's just like, whatever smart people can figure out and apply to the job is how it's done.
Yeah. So this next question is probably my favorite. I wanted to save it towards the end because of that. It's inspired by John Wooden, the UCLA coach. Actually, part of my undergraduate program, we watched this video and he gave his definition of success, and I I love the video. It was I believe he was 93 when he gave the speech. It's incredible. I think it's about 16 or 17 minutes. If you haven't seen it, you should go watch it. But he gave his definition of success. I hope you consider yourself a successful person, Sonny. Um, what is your definition of success?
Yeah, I this is a question I've fought a lot with through my life and through my career. I think I had always been someone who was defined by the job they were doing, and I've found myself in a position where my job allows me to define who I am outside of work, and it's really awesome. So for me, what success looks like now is just I wake up every day with a smile on my face, and I get to enjoy so many things of life, regardless of what I do for work. So the work piece for me is secondary. I enjoy my work. I come in and I go hard as much as I can, and I know when to step away. So for me, it's the all of the pieces outside of work are the things that make me smile. So, time with family, just walking down to the lake with the dog, hanging out with my girlfriend. Like it just all of that stuff makes me feel like a very, very successful person.
Yeah, I agree. Since I've seen that video, it's been a few months, but it stuck with me immediately. I think about it constantly. Because when you said you've fought with it the question a few times, so this obviously isn't the first time you've thought about it. Um, but when I think when people first think of just the word success, I think it's almost always wrong. Um, Kind of in the wrong ways of just like wanting to be the best and like work hard and I agree. I've done the same thing you have. I think about it constantly, and it is just like I don't know, waking up with a smile on your face, like you said. Um, I
Yeah,
think.
and
Go
it's
ahead.
kind of interesting, right? Like as a young person, you have options, right? Like you can choose experience at some point in your life where you can choose to try and like grind and save and make money, right? Like you can choose what you prioritize, and if you prioritize experience now, you're going to have to make up that deficit later. And if you prioritize like grinding and saving and like, you get a job, you're making 70, 80, 90K, whatever, and you're like living like a college student still and like putting everything into savings and buying a house early, and like you're going to be able to chill a little bit more later. So it's kind of like an interesting balance for a young person to think about, but I think it's hard at the age coming out of school to prioritize the money piece and give up the the experiential pieces of your life. And they're certainly not as fun in your 40s. Like, I mean, I'm like literally we're on vacation. We went and walked on a beach for 3 hours. That was it.
Oh man. I mean, yeah, and that's just another one of the questions that I think college students like me, and I don't know if expectations have risen or just not of college students, but college students their own expectations they have for themselves. I don't think social media has helped. I think it's kind of shown there are 23-year-old millionaires and they get shown all over the place, and people love to compare themselves to that, and it's tough, and I think it's pretty unhealthy, an unhealthy way of thinking. But I think you're right. You should prioritize the time that we have now while we're while we're young people.
Yeah, I'm glad social media didn't exist when I was younger. I think my life is better for it. And like I probably spent 5 years, maybe max, with like a Facebook and an Instagram account and a Twitter account, and I'm just off it now. Life's easier without it.
It is. I need to get there at some point. As soon as I can get away, I mean, from the sports, what I need for sports and social media. As soon as I can get away from that, I'm so excited to be done with it. Um, Last question here. I wanted to keep it fun. What are your NBA Finals predictions for this year?
Wow, finals predictions. I think it would be hard to bet against Denver. Denver looks awesome, but assuming they get healthy. Um, and what Boston's doing is pretty crazy. Yeah, this is probably like a pretty cliche pick, but yeah, Boston Denver would be my picks right now.
Yeah, I think I mean I agree with you. I think I don't know. I'm seeing way too much Thunder favor for my liking. And I understand the Thunder, I understand the position they're in. Same with the Timberwolves. But to go from no playoff success at all last year or the year prior to finals is crazy. I think Denver's the easy pick out west.
Yeah, I think it'd be awesome if the Thunder made it. I think they're maybe a piece short. I'm not a Timberwolves believer personally. This is, going to get me in trouble at some point, but I don't love the shots they get. I don't love the way they play when the clock is low. You know, I think they'll be a pretty easy out.
Yeah. Yeah, as of East, I'm a Bucks guy, so it's tough to see the Celtics do as
Yeah.
good as they are. I wish they weren't, man. But
I
they're
think
they're tough, man.
Yeah, the thing that's crazy about the NBA is the playoff game is so different than the regular season game. So teams that are like the Celtics, who are kind of geared towards regular season success, like might not always translate. So we'll see.
Yeah, and well, and even the Bucks last year, the Celtics had it for so long. I can't even remember what happened, but the Celtics had the one seed for so long. Towards this time, around this time last year, the Bucks just swooped
Right.
right in and took it, and we were on a roll heading into the playoffs, and that was it. We won one game in the first round. So I don't know. I love seeing the. I mean, that's and partially why I asked this question. If you just said the two one seeds, I mean, I didn't think you were going to give that answer, but yeah, it is a totally different beast once you get into the playoffs. So I think there is still. It's not a Cavs Warriors automatic like it
Right.
used to be, but it's yeah. I think Denver and Celtics are, I they have to be the two favorites. I would say. I mean, even
Yeah, I guess who would be the teams that if they didn't make the conference finals, if that would be surprising to you? Like those two teams, obviously, if they didn't make the conference finals, that would be surprising.
yeah,
Say if the Bucks didn't make it, like I don't know if I'd be surprised by that, which is weird. It's weird to say.
yeah. Well, who else in the East would have that shot?
Yeah, I don't
We'd have
know.
to see Philly whatever happens with Embiid. I thought they said he's gearing back up, but
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he'll make it back.
yeah,
Yeah.
Cavs Knicks.
Yeah, the Knicks have a ton of injuries now, right? Randall's not coming back.
I think so. Is that the case?
Think so. And I haven't watched a Cavs game in a couple of weeks, but apparently they're killing it, so we'll see.
Yeah, they were on a roll and then they kind of came back down to earth a little bit as of late. Um, yeah, West, there's I don't know. I for whatever well the Bucks just beat this Clippers last night. That was a crazy game. But um Clippers was another kind of dark horse I had. I don't know if they're necessarily a dark horse, but I shouldn't even call them a dark horse. They're like fourth or fifth or something. But I
But the
think
exercise is more fun in the West because yeah, like the Clippers, I wouldn't be surprised. Even if the fucking Lakers made it back, I wouldn't be surprised.
yeah, I was looking at that. I think the other day the 7, 8, 9 or 6, 7, 8 in the West is it's Dallas, Lakers, Warriors,
Right.
and I'm like I could see all those guys like
Yeah,
making a crazy push if they come in from the play-in too. Like who knows?
Dallas is a lot of fun. I'll probably watch more Dallas games this year than anything, and they're a lot of fun, especially with all the new guys I got.
Yeah, I love Lively too. He's
Yeah,
like changed. I can't believe the impact he's had.
what a pickup! Imagine if OKC got him instead of Dallas. Pretty
Yeah.
nice.
Well, OKC took. I can't remember who had the higher pick in this draft, but they took Case and Wallace was the first. Was
Who I
there?
like, good player.
It was around that pick because Lively was 10. I can't remember all that, but yeah, if OKC had that, oh my God, I would consider them a lot stronger this year.
Really good spot.